this is Liz from People I Think Are Cool, a bi-weekly podcast where I interview my favorite creatives from across the globe. If you're looking for a dose of creative inspiration, then go to peopleithinkarecool.com or subscribe to People I Think Are Cool on iTunes and Stitcher.
You like film, from cult to classic, from blockbuster to B-movies. And there just isn't that one place with all the fan fervor and passion that's covering the kind of mad, diverse brilliance that you love.
Well, that's where you're wrong.
AfterMovieDiner.com is that fan-built movie nirvana just for you, featuring the sweet, sweet writings of the wife dork herself. AfterMovieDiner.com. Go there. Be the best you can be.
Welcome to another edition of the In the Mouth of Dorkness podcast. I am your host today, Brad Gullickson, Mouth Dork, and joining me, as always, is my partner in crime, Billy Dass, the Indie Dork. What's up, Billy?
Nothing. I'm just happy to be here. I'm happy to be here in the Dork Cave, talking with people, having conversations. It's all good.
And this was a really great conversation. We are speaking today to Paul Scanlon, who is the CEO and co-founder of Legion M Entertainment. Billy, how familiar were you before today with Legion M Entertainment?
I could have probably listed to you the movies that they had made. I own a poster that they did for Colossal. Nacho Vigalando's Colossal, they had a role in, and they put a poster out, and it was signed by Nacho, and that's a prized possession that hangs in my room right now.
Yeah, I want it.
And, you know, I was aware that they had partnered on Mandy, and so, I mean, what a massive success for them, I guess, then this last year has been.
Yes, and as you'll hear, Paul is riding high off of the success of Mandy. And if you're a longtime listener of this podcast and you've heard our Dorkies Best of the Year special, you know that several dorks on here are pretty darn big fans of Mandy. So it was a true delight to chat Mandy with Paul, but also just to get an idea of what it means to have a fan-owned company.
I am genuinely deeply fascinated by what that means to them and how they're going to execute on it and where they're going to go in the future. I don't know. It's a totally new concept. And so there's a lot of questions to be had about it. But I think that he says in the interview, we're very honest and open about everything that's going on. And I mean, I think that that's accurate. So, if that sort of things intrigues you, then definitely stick around and listen to the conversation because there's a lot of info in it.
I think if you love movies, this is a conversation you want to be a part of because there is a revolution possibly happening at Legion M. And this is really, really interesting stuff. So without further ado, let's just jump right into the conversation. And we are back in the Dork Cave. We have our very special guest today, Paul Scanlon, who is the co-founder and CEO of Legion M Entertainment. Paul, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
No, likewise. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, my understanding is you're hanging out at the airport. You're nice and relaxed. You're ready to chat business.
I'm ready to go. Yeah, back from the holidays and excited for 2019, that's for sure.
Well, I can't hardly blame you. Looking at your fourth quarter, it looks like 2018 was a pretty damn good year for Legion M.
Yeah, we're really excited. I mean, we're also grateful for all the support that we've had from the community and all the people that have come together to back Legion M. We're super excited about how well Mandy did and how well received that film was, And, we've got a whole bunch of things queued up for 2019, actually. We've got some new announcements. I was hoping we would have made this morning and I could share with you, but it's happening tomorrow morning now.
You got secrets.
I know, one day off, but we've got plenty to talk about. And, we're just 2019, I think, is going to be an even bigger year for Legion M, so we're excited.
Well, I got to tell you, Mandy was definitely one of my favorite films of last year. It was on my top 10. I thought it was just a phenomenal cinematic experience, something you don't see every year. And, you know, the phenomenon around that movie's marketing, its online presence. How did you manage that conversation or spread the love, or did it just take off on its own?
Well, it's a great question, and it's one of the things that Mandy has been such a perfect case study for Legion M, because it's a really daring film. You know, it's very original, not the kind of, you know, cookie cutter project you might expect from, you know, the major studios. It did not have, it got, you know, the releasing partner, RLJ, did not put a lot of marketing behind it. In fact, didn't put hardly any marketing behind it. So in a way, for Legion M, you know, when we invested in this film, we knew we would be taking a chance, but that's what we're all about. We want to, you know, be able to back these projects and give them an audience and a community that they deserve to have. And Mandy turned out to be this, like, really beautiful case study because it didn't have any other marketing really to help it get started. And, you know, our experience was that we were able to give it the sort of initial boost that it needed. So we have a saying that, like, we can't make a bad movie good. And, you know, Panos made an amazing movie. There's nothing, you can't take that away. That is just, it is what it is. Not everybody loves it, but for the people that appreciate it, that movie is a visionary film. What Legion M can do for a film like that is we can help make a good film a hit. And I think that's what we did, you know, without spending a lot of any money really marketing. We were able to rally the Legion, get people behind it, get that initial kind of viral kind of discussion going, and then if the movie deserves it, and Mandy does, then it kind of takes off on its own, right? So it's almost like we use this analogy of a virus. You know, every virus needs its patient zero, and you know, in our case, we've got, you know, over 50,000 people that are willing to be that patient zero going out into the world and saying, look, this is a film that people should pay attention to. This is a film that people should go see, and they should go see it in theaters. And, you know, what ended up happening, and because we got the ball rolling, but also because the film deserves it, is that Mandy ended up exceeding everyone's wildest expectation. The distributor was completely, I mean, there are articles written about how the distributor was, it's causing them to even rethink some of their strategy on how they, you know, release films.
Right.
They, of course, want to work with Legion M again. The producers of the project, SpectreVision team, are, you know, huge advocates of Legion M now, and really, you know, excited to kind of partner with us on their next films. So it's, you know, it's been great all around, and so yeah, it's been a really amazing experience, and something that was really fun to be a part of. And you know, on our website we traced that whole project because it started at the script, you know, and we were able to, Legion M was able to kind of follow that film all the way, you know, from Sundance through getting picked up, and then a 4-minute standing ovation at Cannes, and then the release, and then staying in theaters. I was just back home in Chicago, and it's still playing in theaters.
Yeah.
And actually, one of my favorite theaters, the Music Box in Chicago, I couldn't believe it. I hooked up with my brother. I'm like, we have to go see Mandy at the Music Box. And so we went there. We brought a Mandy shirt to give away, and it was just awesome to see that, you know, I mean, the film's been out since, you know, September, and it's still in theaters. That's incredible.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a movie that's been released to VOD then return to theaters and spread wider theatrically. I mean, that's like a really like a miraculous event.
Yeah, it's really, it was an incredible phenomena, and something that, you know, to this day RLJ is still commenting on. And you know, one of the other elements of the film that I think has been really has exceeded expectations, and you know, was the type of thing on a film like this that most people wouldn't expect there to be much of at all, is the merchandise. You know, and this is something, again, where Legion M, being community fan centric, you know, understanding that, hey, you know, our community, we own a piece of this film, we've been a part of it, we want to celebrate that with merch and t-shirts and, you know, fun things related to the film. You know, we went to the filmmakers early on and said, hey, you know, we want to do some, you know, 44 shirts and Tiger shirts and all these things. And they said, oh, you know, we don't normally do that. I don't know that anyone's going to want to do it. And we said, don't worry. Well, like, we'll do it. Like that, we want to do it. And, you know, one of the key elements for us is that it's not just smart from a business standpoint, right? Like, a lot of times you can have these expectations for merchandise, and then if you don't sell any, it actually, you know, is a loss leader. But in our case, the way we look at it is, first and foremost, our community wants to represent the film, and they want something that they can own. And so it makes perfect sense that we would be the company to kind of do the merchandise, because when we were talking to them originally, our expectation was, look, probably some very high percentage of the merch is going to come from our community anyway, and we have our merch squad, and they tell us what they're interested in. We even have, you know, suppliers that are Legion M members, so we can kind of keep it all in-house and do it really effectively that way. And but more importantly, what the merchandise does is it helps build and feed that fandom. And when you have something that starts to take off like Mandy, it propels it. And that element of this project has taken, I mean, we're still like selling several like orders a day on merchandise.
Sure.
And we've got more product that we're introducing. We've got some Cheddar Goblin stuff that's coming out. And again, we have this saying that having fun can be good business. You know, merchandise and buying merch. A lot of people were buying it to give as presents for the holidays. We created some cool packages. Like we've got the Rage Cage pack, and we've got, early on we did the Mandy viewing party kit. Mm-hmm. So we ordered, you know, conservatively in that first order, because we just didn't know what the response would be, but it was still, like, for a startup like us, it was still kind of a high enough number that we had to really think about it. Like, all right, should we order all the materials for this many? We ended up selling out and having to reorder 4 times. So, you know, and that was to sell the viewing party kits, which was encouraging people to get people together and watch the film together and host a little kind of viewing party. So again, it's like, you know, it was just this really nice situation, and all that, you know, revenue then is meaningful for Legion M. Another way for us to you know, build our business model.
I'm very fascinated by the way that you talk about the community and of Legion, you know, the Legion of supporters that you guys are working with to, you know, find these projects and put them out into the world and do creative and fun things with them to help bring out awareness. But I guess I'm kind of curious is how are you picking your projects? Do you see yourselves as curators of good art, where you go out and you find artists to lift up that you connect with as fans of film, or, you know, like what's the goal? How do you select projects?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we actually lean on the community pretty heavily for our guidance. You know, we have multiple different elements of our kind of community and our platform where the community itself tells us what they're interested in, what they like, and even votes on things. So we have our Scout platform, which we're gearing up for Sundance right now. We have our Impulse platform, which is where, you know, we will post things that are in development or in consideration to be in development, and people can give feedback on them. You know, we ultimately, the final decisions have to be, you know, made by our executive team, because a lot of times there's too many nuances. Like if everybody really likes a specific type of or a project that we're also really excited about, ultimately the business terms may just not be worthwhile. So we can't always do exactly what, you know, the community would ask for. Well, we're not always able to provide all the information that the community would need to make the same decision. But what we're doing is, you know, we do feel like to a certain degree we're curators, but we're only as good as the information that we're getting. And so, you know, for us, we don't see the Legion as just a way to raise capital and a way to help, you know, film or TV projects be more successful. We really see it as the basis of the intelligence and insight that can make us better at curating and better at choosing. So, yeah, I mean, this is a big part of kind of the overall platform, what we call harnessing the power of the community, where we are, you know, genuinely going out and getting the insight and information that is helpful. You know, when I talk about the Scout platform, what it is, you know, we have kind of these hunting relationships where we've got multiple distributors now, like RLJ and Neon and others, that all want to work with us. You know, they've seen the magic and the power of kind of what happens when the Legion community gets involved and gets behind something. So one of the initiatives that we have is when we go to a film festival like Sundance, which, as you may know, we're going to be there. We'll have our Legion M Lounge. We were there last year when Mandy premiered. But, you know, for the, you know, near-term future, our plan is to always be at Sundance. And it's a place for our community to come together. We have sponsors help pay for our presence on Main Street. We take over Red Banjo Pizza. And we invite everyone to come out, you know, as many people as we can get. And even those that can't come can still participate online from home. But the idea is, you know, we now know what films are premiering at Sundance. And Sundance is really a film market. So our goal would be to come out of Sundance with an acquisition, something that we acquire together with a distributor that we like working with. We put up, you know, a small amount of the money for acquiring the film, but the distributor puts up most because that's what they do. But we do that based on the information, data, and insight that we get from the Scout platform. So the Scout platform allows us to rate every film at Sundance. Everyone in the Legion can contribute to this. We haven't, it'll be live probably later this week with all the data and all the films and everything. People can tell us what films sound the most appealing, the people that are, you know, participating before Sundance starts. Once Sundance starts, then when anyone that's on site or at Sundance can go and watch films. Of course, they pay for themselves to be there. But after they've seen a film, they can log in and review it and tell us what they like. So at the end of Sundance, you know, when we're looking at all these projects, we're smarter than any other distributor because we've got actual audience and viewer insight. So we know what is our community interested in, what are they most likely to go see, what will they be excited to bring their friends to go see. And with that information, you know, we can't guarantee that we'll be successful buying something, but that's our goal, is to go and try to find something. And, you know, we've talked to, you know, multiple different distributors. Every one of them loves this idea because when they go, they're really like playing the odds. and it's very subjective because, you know, when they go out there, they're going to try to pick something that they think will be hot and that people will like. But most of the time, these distributors are relatively small. They might only have a handful of people at Sundance. And so they're basing their decision on a handful of opinions, and sometimes without having even seen the film. Because you can't, there's too many films for, you know, a handful of people to see every film.
Right, absolutely. I mean, it is a fascinating model that you've got going here, and you know, I love the language of, you know, rallying your legion. But can you explain to our listeners who have not encountered Legion M previously exactly what it means to have a fan-owned company?
Sure, absolutely, yeah. So we're literally owned by fans. So we're using new laws enabled by the Jobs Act, which has kind of reformed and updated some of the securities laws that we had. And what Legion M is doing is we're equity crowdfunding. So think of it as like Indiegogo and Kickstarter and all the things that, you know, the world has become familiar with, where you can back those projects or help a startup company. But in our case, you're not like donating the funds, you're actually buying shares. So it's like somewhere between Kickstarter and taking a company public. We're a pre-IPO company, but we're selling real shares. So everyone in the company owns shares. Those shares have value and they're tradable. They're not listed on the NASDAQ because we're still a startup, but they are tradable shares and they're regulated by the SEC. And you can also join for free. So we have, you know, we invite everybody because to participate as a free member, if they'd like, to kind of get a feel for what we're all about. And then if you do decide to investing, the minimum investment is $100, which today the share price is $8.88. So it gets you a decent number of shares, gets you about 11 shares. And you can invest more than $100 if you want. The average right now is about $500 is the average investor. And because, you know, we're a startup, we're really clear with our investors that we don't want anyone investing their life savings. It wouldn't be a smart investment decision. You know, we're swinging for the fences. We're very bullish, of course, and very excited and optimistic about our business model, but we're also pragmatic, and we want people to understand that startup investing is risky. You know, it's very high potential reward. But, you know, statistically, most startups fail. And when they do, all the investors lose all their money. So it's not like, you know, if you invest a little bit in the stock market, you know, the share price might go down. In our case, you know, if we're not successful, we'll probably go out of business. And so people just need to understand not to invest more than they can afford to lose. But, you know, the idea is that if we can beat those odds, and we think we can, then we can go on to be one of those companies that truly changes the world. And our goal, like we built our goal into our logo. So our Legion M, our M has a bar over it, which is the Roman numeral for 1 million. Our goal is to unite 1 million fans together. And if you can just imagine, if we get to that goal and the average investor puts $500 in, we'll be a company that has $500 million to invest in projects that have 1 million people emotionally and financially invested in them. And we'll have 1 million people giving us that kind of important data and insight on what next projects or what projects coming out of Sundance or Toronto, and, you know, what television projects do we think are going to be worthwhile. That company could be one of the most influential entertainment companies on the planet. And that's what we're gunning for. And, you know, we have a long way to go. We're at the very early stages. So, you know, people are buying shares at that $8 price point, which, you know, represents like a 20-something million valuation. But if we achieve our goal of, you know, 1 million investors, then we know we'll be worth billions of dollars.
I mean, it is like, it's an incredibly exciting idea. And what I find interesting so far, looking at the films that you have celebrated and acquired, it's a pretty eclectic collection of stories. You know, they're not obvious fanboy entertainments. You know, Colossal, Mandy, Bad Samaritan. You are like running across multiple genres. So if there is like,
our goal is to have our goal is to have a diversified slate. You know, we tell, you know, our investors that we don't expect everybody in the Legion to like everything we do. That's probably too hard a mission to accomplish. I mean, we'll strive for that, of course, but you know, when you've got a project like Mandy, we put into a special label called Legion Midnight. And Mandy was the first film in our Legion Midnight slate. And, you know, if you think about it, you literally can't find a better film to be your first film in your midnight slate. Mm-hmm. And, you know, in our midnight slate, this is a part of the company and the project where we want to push the boundaries even further. This is, you know, where our Stanley Kubrick Clockwork Orange territory and, you know, things that Mandy will be a midnight film, you know, for the next 100 years, we hope. And, you know, and we think there's value in investing in projects like that. And, you know, so we have our kind of justification. We also know that our community is into things like that because we do these impulse surveys and we know that, you know, they're fans of midnight movies and Nick Cage and, you know, all these things. So that was what steered us towards those. Colossal was a really cool project because what we liked about it is it's a wildly original story. And, you know, that mashup has never been done. Nacho Vigalondo, I mean, if you look at the threads, the common denominators, we love projects that are, you know, up-and-coming directors. In fact, our film that hasn't been released yet, we've got some news coming on it, Field Guide to Evil, is a celebration of up-and-coming directorial voices in the horror genre. So we like the idea of kind of giving these new directors an opportunity. Panos, you know, had done one other film before Mandy, Beyond the Black Rainbow, but it wasn't at the level. It wasn't starring in Nick Cage. It didn't get the kind of release that Mandy got. And, you know, we think Panos is one of the new voices. And, you know, our goal would be for Panos to become almost like a Guillermo del Toro in Hollywood, like someone who really represents creativity and visionary storytelling. And you know, so we want to be a force of good in that way, where we can, you know, help these directors and up and coming talent.
Yeah, well, I'm fully on board the Panos train. I think I agree. I think he's a tremendous talent. His two movies look unlike any other film out there. Incredibly unique vision. We love Nacho. We love everything that he's done. We loved Colossal. But, you know, like I wonder, what is the conversation with those guys when you partner with these filmmakers? How are they reacting to the Legion M model?
Well, they're, you know, I would say all of them love it now. In fact, Dean Devlin's joined our advisory board. Yeah. I'm sure Nacho and Panos would as well if we invited them too. They, you know, Nacho was very supportive. I mean, they get it right away, you know, and yeah, I would say, I mean, we have glowing quotes about what it's like to work with the Legion from everyone we've worked with, which is really, you know, a powerful thing in Hollywood because, you know, people don't always like working together. And, you know, we're an easy partner to work with. I know Panos has been supremely appreciative. You know, we're backing his vision, and, you know, that's hard for him not to appreciate, you know, and he's seen seen the magic that we've helped, and it was the combination of his talent and the great film and the community that helped create the phenomenon that is now Mandy. I mean, everyone's talking about it.
For sure. It's. I imagine because your model is so unique. I mean, there's literally no other company quite like Legion M out there right now in the film business. I imagine you've encountered a lot of resistance or confusion, and maybe you still even encounter a little bit today. I mean, for those that doubt this idea of crowdfunding or not crowdfunding, but crowd owning, what's your response to trepidation?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, thankfully, we haven't, in the early days, like before we had done anything, we encountered a lot more of it. Today, it's harder to argue against. I think people are seeing the concrete evidence and the fact that, I think early on people would say, having a community of shareholders like that is going to be a nightmare for you, and it'll, the company will just drown in trying to keep everyone happy. And, it's still early for us, but, Jeff and I would both safely say that, managing and nurturing a community like this, it's not easy and it's no walk in the park, but it's really fun. And I would say, by and large, the community has been phenomenal. Like completely exceeded our expectations in how supportive they are and how ready they are to kind of back us up and to get behind things and to rally. It's very rare that we, have to deal with someone like, complaining or causing resistance. I mean, we're all in this together. And, Jeff and I, our approach is to just be completely honest and transparent with everyone all the time. And, I think that really helps. But I would say that one of the things that Hollywood loves, and you're right in predicting that it's really more the entrenched players that they're not resistant, they're just less likely to get it right away. It's more like confusing to them. And the one way that we have, come across that they helps them understand is it's a built-in audience. Hollywood loves a built-in audience. Marvel has a built-in audience. Star Wars has a built-in audience. Transformers has a built-in audience. This is what they do. And when you talk to them about a built-in audience, they get that right away. If you talk to them about a fan community and insight on, picking projects and all that stuff, they get a little bit, confused. But when we describe the value of having a built-in audience, a community that's versatile, it's one thing to have a built-in audience and be kind of hardwired to be doing Transformer movies, right? You might be able to do a spin-off or some other thing from that film, but our built-in audience isn't locked on a single franchise. Our goal is to create the next Star Wars and to back it and to own it, not to, replicate something that already exists. And so, we're very early, but we've already shown that when we back something, and we have each one of our projects now has, case study information where we know what our impact was on the project financially. And, as we look at how the company is growing today, we're probably hovering around $1 million. So if we back a project, we can drive, depending on how it gets released, we can drive about $1 million in top line revenue, either box office and then, VOD and all those things. That's pretty meaningful. But when we double, it'll be $2 million. When we triple, it'll be $3 million. And it's just going to keep growing. And, our goal is to be, 50 times the size we are today. So at that point in time, we'll be able to drive like really material revenue for a project.
So we're coming up on time, and I have 2 questions that I want to finish out on. First question is, so we talked about the successes of 2018 and the business model for Legion M a bit, but what are you guys excited for 2019? What's coming out that we should be giving people a heads up on?
Awesome, yeah. So we've, as I mentioned, we have some news that'll come out tomorrow that involves someone that we've worked with in the past that we're really excited about. We've got a new advisor that we're going to be adding as well. One of the things that I'm really excited about is all the activity that we have in the television space. You know, we have multiple projects in development. We added a really kick-ass showrunner to our Evermore project, Andrew Cosby, who's super well-known in the industry and really probably one of the hottest showrunners in the industry. And he read the scripts, he met with the team, the creators, and he loves that project. So, you know, with him on board, we're really optimistic about, you know, getting Evermore out into the world. We've got Girl with No Name that we haven't talked about yet, but we'll be releasing some new information on that pretty soon as well. That's our badass female Western.
Sign me up.
Tony Wexler directing. Yeah, it's badass. And we're going to be coming out with the comic book soon. So the comic is almost finished. It's going into publishing. So we still need to print them and all that. But it's amazing. We're really excited about that project. And then Chicken Soup for the Soul, which we announced just right before the holidays, is a relationship with a very established brand, Chicken Soup for the Soul. You may know them for their books, but they also have an entertainment division that does movies and TV shows, and they've got budget, they've got network relationships, and we pitched them some of our television show ideas, and they were ecstatic over them. One in particular that we call Positive TV, which is about uplifting positive programming to kind of a counterweight to the vast majority of entertainment that's out there today, including the news. But this is something that we're really excited about, and you know we're pushing forward together with them as one of our partners.
I love it. All right. Well, final question. So, you know, as Brad mentioned, you know, we've had a chance to talk to a lot of filmmakers and people who work in the film industry. And I think the common denominator for all of that is that it's really difficult to get a project done and out there in the world. And through the course of putting something out in the world, you can feel quite lowly, I think, at times while you're trying to get your work done. And I'm curious if you'd be willing to share with us, say, a particular moment that you are the most proud of or that you lean on when you're feeling a bit low and like everything is an uphill fight, just from your last year or last couple years with Legion M?
Well, I would say, you know, one of the things that, I mean, there's been so many, and you know, we're, as you know, we've been grateful, we've been fortunate because we've had a lot of success. But one of the things that I think was really profound for us is, you know, when we made the bet on Mandy, and you know, we talked about it, we really felt like we needed to prepare everyone for, you know, what this film was all about, and, you know, how dark it is, and all these things. And it was nervous. It was nerve-wracking. And I would say one of the things that's been so rewarding about it is to see how well received it was, and it gives me hope, you know, because a lot of times, you know, one of the things that we want to be known for is backing original voices, and you know, one of the scary things about that is, you know, wondering if the world wants that or not. You know, we know that we do, and we know that our community does, because that's what they're rallying around. But to see the rest of the world agree with us, and to have Mandy make so many top 10 films of the year, including Esquire magazine calling it the #1 best movie of the year, is so gratifying and stimulating. It gives me like such a tremendous wave of excitement about what we can do, and how pushing the boundaries can be a good thing again. Just the same way Stanley Kubrick pushed the boundaries with Clockwork Orange and that film, and you look back at some of the greats and Guillermo del Toro and, all of these, visionary directors. I feel like in the past, if we look past, it feels like those creators had more freedom to do more original, and I feel like hope is still alive. It's still there. That people still want that. We have an industry that tends to, simply put, they're owned by Wall Street, and so they invest in a built-in audience, which means they'll do a new Transformers movies and they'll do a great job, and it'll be a great movie, but it's another Transformer movie instead of something brand new and exciting.
True. Well, Paul,
I would say that, yeah.
Thank you so much for chatting with us today. We really appreciate it. We're excited about Legion M. We've loved the movies that you've been attached to so far. We're excited to see what you've got coming down the pike. I'm certainly excited about Girl with No Name. But where can our listeners find you online? Where should we direct them to?
Yeah, excellent. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. It's always good talking with you guys. And if your listeners want to find us, we're at legionm.com. And that's just LEGIONM.com. And it's got all of the information. We've got our slate on there, background. We've got our, the team, what we're doing. We also, one of the things that people may not realize, we kind of keep a running, not like a daily diary, but we keep a pretty good blog of what we're doing and what we're working on and what's happening. And that's just right on our main page. So when you go to legionm.com, you scroll down, you'll be able to see everything we've been up to for the last 2 years. It's like our diary right there.
Very cool. Well, I'm going to be at Sundance this year, so I'm going to swing on by the lounge, and I'll say hey.
Yeah, I hope you hang out with us there.
That's my plan.
Awesome. Well, and look for news on Scout too, because that's hopefully coming in the next day or two.
All right, we'll do. We'll post that as well. Thanks, Paul.
Awesome. All right, thanks, guys.
Have a good one. Take care.
All right, take care. Bye.
And there you have it, folks. That was great. I love that conversation.
Like I said, going into it, I really didn't understand a lot about how Legion M was working through their business, and I still am fascinated by what it is that they're doing. I tell you, it's hard to talk to him and not get excited about their project and what their future is going to look like as a company.
Yeah, I've already invested $500, Billy. How about you?
Wow, I didn't. Well,
as we were talking.
Oh my gosh, you just got out your phone and did that. Wow.
Yeah. 50,000 members of the Legion right now, and at an average of $500.
That's not nothing.
Share. That's not nothing. That's impressive.
I mean, when he's talking about being able to bring a bankable audience of maybe $1 million for a project that they're doing, the types of projects that they're looking to snap off. I mean, that can absolutely turn the difference between something that's financially successful and something that's not financially successful. I mean, it's really quite something that they're doing.
For sure. So watch this space. We're going to be following the Legion M story quite closely, and I'm sure we'll get Paul and Jeff back onto the show someday in the near future. Fingers crossed we can meet up in Sundance and hobnob, and I can steal one of their cheddar goblins because I want one of those. All right, Billy, where can our listeners find you on the web today?
You can find me at WB Das on Instagram, Twitter, and Letterboxd.
You sure
forgot
about
where
that?
I was.
You
Yeah,
sure?
no, I'm not totally sure about that. I was right there.
You're definitely at WB Das on all social medias.
Yeah.
Including Tinder. And I am Brad Gullickson at Mouth Dork on all social medias. Until next time, guys, take care.